We need
Hello?
to meet and discuss something of a very sensitive nature.
Oh shit. Okay.
It's... When I say sensitive, I mean sensitive.
Okay. Let me get out of the situation I'm in, and then... What is your ping?
It is 543.
Okay. Sounds good. I'll ping you once I'm done this. Okay.
It's not an emergency, but it's really important you know.
Okay.
Okay.
Alright, sounds good. Bye.
It's a really good spot.
Thank you. Holy shit, man. Scared the shit out of me.
Yeah, sorry about that. But I feel like this is more important that I get to you. This is pertaining to things that I cannot speak about very freely.
Okay.
But I will do my best. So, basically, I had a conversation with the City Chronicle where they showed me an information archive that they have been building up. They have a lot of shit, including bank records and journals and operational blueprints. They didn't say specifically who they got. I'll go piece by piece here. Operational blueprints, just like the ones that I saw and that you saw while on vacation.
Yeah.
They said that they could not ethically give up their sources as to who showed it to them, but
Right.
they did pointedly mention that they had a conversation with Queenie either yesterday or earlier today and are thinking about bringing her deeper into their rabbit hole because they also function as the new iteration of Echo. Just, you know, underground, anti-faceless information sharing. So, it's implied that she may have shown them that, but implied. I do not have concrete evidence for that. In regards to bank records and journals, they have been in communication with, gotten notes, gotten pinged, gotten XYZ from, you want to take a wild guess who?
I'd say top 3, Oracle, Ian, or Charlie.
Yeah, you nailed it. So Ian Crawford, for the past 5 or so months, has been in direct communication with them. Not speaking to them, but leaving notes. Specifically to Frank, talking about sending him further down the rabbit hole, telling him to look into Ryan, insert last name here, telling him to, you know, if they follow the money, it'll lead them to a noose. Telling him he should talk to a David Barnes. Basically, getting access to bank records of a certain sort. And please stop me if and when I'm saying too much. It's important for you to know, but I don't want to go overboard. You know what I mean?
I would just say it all.
Okay. So, Ian basically sent them... I wish I could have taken pictures of these, but they were watching me very closely. And if they were going to tell me all of this, I'm not going to jeopardize that if I can get more info.
Yeah, that's understandable.
Precisely. So, I wish I could have gotten pictures of it, but there were like 5, 6 booklets of notes from Ian addressed to Frank, basically telling him where to go. There were a couple of notes that said, you know, if you want to pull out, this is your time, because information isn't just information. It's a chess piece that positions people, and you're being positioned right now. This is the kind of information that can get people killed. It can make people kings, da-da-da-da-da. Additionally, after these bank records have been gotten, Ian gave them a series of journals. I think you may remember very well that there is a certain passage in one of those journals that talks about making copies and leaving them with someone he trusts. Well, that someone he trusts is just giving them out to the news, it appears.
Jesus Christ.
The subject matter, there were 8. There were 8 journals that they had. Most of them focused on Victor Blackwell. That I hadn't read before, you may have. But there was one that was like 5 or so pages long, diving into like musings about Victor Blackwell and all of this. And there were some familiar ones.
Wait. So these are Roman's notes about Victor Blackwell?
Yes.
What did those detail?
It was 5 pages about what his position is specifically, wondering what he does with logistics. It's not just about power, it's about positioning. It's not about money, it's about like that kind of circular thinking that he does in his writing sometimes. There were more specifics, but I'll admit my memory isn't the best at this present moment. But they were very much circular musings about what Victor's role is, why is he doing what he does, why do they have so many layers of bureaucracy for what he does when he presumably is in charge of things based off of
I don't think I've ever read that.
Okay. Then I will have to find a way to get a copy for you, because I have a key to the building where this is stored.
What?
I'll circle back around to that because I think I should get the important stuff out first before it slips from my memory.
Go ahead.
A couple of them were about Victor Blackwell. There was a very familiar book about the white man. It's a very familiar book about, with the etching of the hood. Very familiar book about a certain FIB bombing that names something explicitly.
Okay.
And that's what those were. One of them was a duplicate of the FIB bombing book. They have a lot more information than I expected. They have a copy of the operational blueprint that they said that they recently got from someone, presumably Queenie, taking that with a grain of salt. They have the step-by-step booklet on how the refueling and reallocating process is going to go. Like, basically how they are going to redeliver important infrastructure items to the island. Gas, medical, ammunition, etc.
Really?
Mm-hmm. They had a book about the transfer process for Darkstone. And they had these files where they have annotations and notes on different things, like annotations on the stuff from Ian Crawford, the stuff with Roman's journals, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. They have like a couple dozen of these. Very, very meticulous. If the implications weren't so worrying, I would be deeply impressed and a little jealous. They have more documents from the FIB detailing more in depth Ian Crawford's involvement there, how he was a systems analyst, and then a document from Darkstone detailing that he was a logistics supervisor that that basically directed people around. And oh gosh, the wording is gonna be a little off. Ian is the one that made the call, apparently, the ultimate call to level New Jersey. Whatever that entails. Ian is the one that gave the directive to Charlie and Delta One. And there was another document. Yeah, there was another document that detailed that Delta One was standing next to Charlie when Charlie tried to take out Ian. So knowing what we know about Delta One kind of being Ian's handler assistant makes it even more messy. The Chronicle believe that Ian might have been the one sending out specific radio broadcasts, and he was the one who apparently, you know, the music that's featured in all of these faceless videos?
Yeah.
He's been sending them and playing them for the Chronicle members, like, since, like, a month and a half ago. He's been showing up outside of their house, dropping things off, making gestures at them. Apparently he waited for them outside of their house, made a golf swing kind of motion, and a car blew up behind him. And the most fucked up thing, apparently, I think it was a week ago they said, they were working in their archive area, and they heard a bunch of rustling around. So their archive area's in their basement. They heard a bunch of rustling upstairs, and then down the stairs. And when they walked out, they looked around, and he was standing there in another one of their storage rooms smoking. Just fucking with them.
Oh, Ian's kind of like a fucking creep.
Yeah. Yeah. But he keeps talking about putting things into position, and that's verbiage that has shown up in Frank's notes. Or the notes to Frank quite a bit. They have documentation on Roman Gray, on the Oracle. They told me they've made the connection. I sat there and listened. I did not confirm a single thing. I just listened. They confirmed to me that they thought, or not confirmed, they said to me that they think that Roman Gray is the Oracle. They have they did a handwriting match between the journals that they got from Ian Crawford with a note that the Oracle gave a receptionist at MRPD. Do you know who Martha May is?
I didn't until today when I saw her twat out probably that note, to be honest.
Really? Yeah, so that's... Are we good?
Probably just my paranoia.
No, it's good. I mean, everyone is watching everyone's listening to everyone's phone calls. No, it's good to be spry. Yeah, I believe the note that I read was 2 pages, but yeah, they basically took that note that was from the Oracle. It had the Oracle etching on the cover and everything. And basically handwriting matched that. Gosh, there's so much. Basically, their archive, they said that they feel honor-bound and duty-bound to record all of this in case things hit the fan. So they have a security system where all of their books are tagged, where it sets off an alarm if you take them out of the room. I don't know if there are any other security measures in place. What they said to me was that I am the first and only other person to see that room. I am not going to take that at face value, right? Because they very likely could have shown other people.
Yeah, I'm just also... Like, I don't mean this offensively to you, but I don't understand why they would trust you to that degree.
I think it was part apology. What they said, I asked them the question, why are you showing me this? And again, take this with a grain of salt. They intended it as an apology because there was a time when we were very close. They knew that I had been looking into this stuff for a very long time. Before I truly understood the depth of what I was looking at, they were the ones I leaned on. I think they felt that it was right to share it with me. Now, again, I'm taking it with a spoonful of salt because it could be... They could have been told to share it with me. They could have showed it to me to see what my reaction would be, or to see if I would tell them anything else, right?
I can see that as well.
As far as they know, I don't know jack shit. This is all news to me.
I think for a group that has clearly made it their life's mission to obtain as much information as possible, first off, it's very unlikely that everything you saw is everything they have.
Oh, 100%.
Right? Second off, I mean, if we look at, for example, Speedy coming to you and thinking that you have access to places, right? People not even 1% interested or involved in all this see that relationship there. I would be very shocked if other people didn't as well, especially people that are so keen on keeping an eye on things.
Precisely.
So I do think it's an attempt to use you for information.
Absolutely. There were about 2 other rows of shelves that I do have access to. I just haven't taken the opportunity to look at yet because they were doing the yawning, stretching, I gotta go to bed thing. They said I could read as much as I want, but I decided probably best that I get some rest too. Because the other stuff is more about PD and Darkstone, which, yes, that stuff is important to look into, but I can always, quotation marks, I could always potentially go back for that.
Did they show you any books they're putting out as Echo?
I have. Okay, they have given me. They haven't shown me any of the to be released ones yet, but I have the first and second one.
Okay, I saw those today.
Okay.
Just out in the wild, found them, read them, and just threw them off a highway. But yeah, but I don't know. I think it would be naive with the amount of, let's say, the amount of contact that they have with Ian, with Charlie, to assume that they are more naive or less in the know than they are. Truly.
No, they very much, it definitely felt like they were phrasing things in a very specific way. Like, they're careful of exposing more than they intend to. So this very much was a litmus test.
Yeah, what scares me more than the knowledge of what they have is the books I read today. For example, one of the photos in that book is of a property in Polito.
Yep.
And if they are going into detail to the public saying this person got abducted, they were hurt this way, this is the story behind it, I am very interested to see how they go about doing that with more information in the future.
They have a lot. Like, I truly I hit some of the bigger worrisome points, but they are, how do I phrase it? They are aware, or they believe, that one of two certain groups went to that house and grabbed information from there based off of the breadcrumbs that Ian Crawford gave them. They didn't go into specifics, but a lot of, we're going to heavily imply something and see if you react to it.
They have got to be like, I think part of them definitely, for sure, there's a part of them that likes you and wants to, you know, go down rabbit holes with you and whatnot, but
There was a time for that.
it feels very malicious at this point in time. Very malicious.
I do have a key to the building. They said I can use whatever, which again, is something to be taken with a grain of salt. Especially with what has happened before, I don't take this lightly. Especially, they have a lot of really sensitive information. And I think there's a part of them that understands that it's the kind of information that can get a person killed, right? Not even currently worrisome stuff, but simply in general. Stuff that they have on Charlie, stuff that they have on potentially Brian Knight. They implied that they have something that is impeachment worthy for him, so we'll see how that goes. I'm gonna jump forward. As I was leaving, Frank pulled me to the side, and he told me, he asked me, hey, have you been keeping an eye on the satellites? Have you noticed anything about the Vespucci Beach and Vinewood Bowl satellites? You should check them out. They are pointing somewhere very interesting. One second. Actually, I don't even want to. Do you have a notebook?
Yep.
first two, when you type them into your tablet, are pictures of the satellites, what position they're in. The next two are pictures of the GPS with the direction they're facing. The final one, the fifth one, is the two GPS images layered over each other with an approximation of where their, I suppose, directions intersect.
So, okay. So, you are speaking with, I presume, more than Frank at first, or just Frank?
Ooh,
Because you said
yes.
he pulled you to the side.
Yes. So, at first, it is Frank, Mikey, and Nora, the core people of the City Chronicle. Frank gave me a call, said he had something urgent to tell me. I debated meeting with him, but if we made it somewhere moderately public, it could be about Dante. I'll see what he has to say. Then he says, I want to show you something at the house. I figured because we have been having polite enough conversation, I gave someone a heads up that I was going somewhere potentially dangerous, and I went along. Then they showed me the basement. It was Mikey, Frankie, and Nora, and then as we went our separate ways, Frank pulled me aside.
Now, out of all the things you spoke about with Frank, why would this be something he feels the need to pull you to the side alone to tell you about?
The way he phrased it is, I don't know if this is important to you, but that is specifically the words that he used. And what was this? Like maybe 2 months ago now? When Joshua came to the prison and said something along the same lines. I don't know why they think that connection is there. I don't know if it's because of the presumed closeness I might have with Lang, or what. But that is something that I am practicing extra caution with, because I legitimately don't know where that conclusion is being drawn. As far as I know, there have been no pictures taken of me being there, but I can't bank on that not being a reality, right?
No, I completely understand that. I think, like, for some reason, everyone and their fucking mother loves to watch. So,
Yeah.
what I'm thinking right now is, first of all, keep our distance from the place. Second of all, when you and I meet, we do it like this.
Perfect.
I think we try and sever any sort of possible, I guess, feed the suspicion that would make him pull you to the side like that for that specific piece of information. I don't like that.
I'm muting my phone. Yeah, I agree. It's... Ooh, something he said earlier on in the conversation. He was talking about, like, the bond that some of the faceless assets have formed, on how it's like kind of a brotherhood that they have brought together, and that's. He was talking about witnessing Charlie beating the ever living shit out of Brandon Valentino at a meeting that the Chronicle was drugged to, and they were, or dragged to, I should say, and basically were threatened and intimidated. And there were a couple of other assets there, and apparently Charlie kept like pulling Brandon to the side and smacking him up. And how the other assets were like being super jokey about it. And the strange comparison he drew, which take this as you will, is, it's that close bond that happens when you work with people for a long time. Like, like Frank saying this, myself, Nora, and Mikey, or you and CJ.
Right. Here's my thing with the news. I think it's inevitable that with how much they have access to information directly from sources that are just so knowledgeable, it is like quite obvious that they're gonna know shit. My I guess problem with them is they know enough to know that they are a tool that is being used by the faceless. They know enough to know that. And I don't want to have this, like... I hate this narrative that they spin of them being these scared little reporters that have to be in the room where shit's happening because they're scared of dying. I think it's reached a stage where if you're in a room where assets are beating the shit out of each other in front of you and joking and laughing, that says a lot about the comfort level in that room, about you being in that room.
Absolutely.
I think they are complicit in the actions that the faceless are doing. I think that even this whole echo thing now, I mean, the faceless know who the echo is, right?
They absolutely do, yeah.
So the fact that now it's suddenly back, and the fact that they speak about placement, and the fact that they get their information from a man who's putting the pieces in the right position, they know that, and they are playing exactly the way that the people who they're so scared of and so against want them to play.
Yep, those are my thoughts precisely. No, it is very worrisome. And I'll admit, at present, I've got a lot of information running through my mind, but I'm trying to... And this may be a moot thing to try to figure out, but I'm trying to figure out what the placement specifically is. Because remember that day when we were all separately pinged to the Epsilon building?
Yeah.
I think that might have been him.
There's so many things that confuse me.
Yeah.
One of the biggest of all is Ian and the Oracle's relationship. It's tough because so many things look like they are on the same side, but so many things point in the opposite direction, and yet when I see one, I seem to see the other. They're like, histories are intertwined, their present is intertwined, and yet Ian seems to be the one putting all these pieces in place. Well, if the Oracle is what we suspect, he should be the one that's warning everybody and trying to get the pieces not put into place. He should be the one who knows enough that that's happening and wants to stop it.
Yep. It's... You know about the origin of the Oracle, right? How he was a black mask that was working security. He was shot in front of Treepass when the whole look for a leak thing happened. And that's... Okay, good. Figured he did, but just double checking, because they told me that today.
I mean, this man trusted Ian. But what if Ian's entire purpose was to be reborn and placed in a position where he's trusted by Roman?
Yeah. They do not know that Ian is not his original name. Could he... This is a wide swing. Could he be a member of the Draven family? That simply learned too much?
I think it's a possibility, but it's also like the reason I think it's a possibility is because I can't count it out as an option because I don't have any information on Draven, right? To me, the Draven family is much similar to Blackwell family.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
But then I look at Blackwell.
Documents.
Yeah, I look at Blackwell and I can trace down lines of all the shit that they have control over, in charge of, are doing, and then I point at Draven and it's just empty. It's nothing.
That's a really good point. Blackwell, they're very public with what they got and what we know about them.
Who the fuck is that?
I should probably not get too lost in the weeds with theories, but that is something that is very interesting. Blackwell and Draven, yes, their names are on the blueprint and whatnot, but Blackwell has the most record of them. Also, Chronicle believe that the Faceless took out Blackwell.
Huh?
Yes, so that's good. I didn't ask them for their reasoning. I just took it as face value.
Now listen, if that ever changes and they have information that tells them otherwise, that's very important to know of when, because I think that confirms to me that Queenie is telling them stuff.
I'll
Wait, I'm confused. Why would Queenie... Hold on. If Queenie is working with Clark and Luch and them and the marshals to fight the Faceless, why would she be giving any sort of information or communication to people that are very clearly puppets of the Faceless?
That is a very good question. Again, not... I'm trying to think of where else they could have gotten that blueprint from. But she did have a conversation with them where apparently they spoke at length about a lot of relevant subjects. To what ends and what means, I do not know. They did mention that they are debating showing her the archives as well.
Mm. Damn.
Yeah. As far as I know, they don't have any specific names that are presently important tied to things. But when given the opportunity, I will discreetly re-review the files that they have.
Yeah, I think
Because if
kind
there's
of
a way
bridging off
yeah.
bridging off what we said earlier, I can also see them almost testing you with certain information to see if you'll react a certain way or correct them or offer up
Yep.
different theories.
I very much agree. That's what I was thinking of the entire time. But while I navigate these things, they also have information that I didn't have prior. So, carefully and thoughtfully, I will use that.
Yeah, I think any sort of narrative you can, I guess, push, which is very convenient since it's currently the truth. And I'm not saying to directly say this to them, obviously, but if anything ever comes up or just the way we should act going forward for sure is you and I, you and people at the garden, we have a history, we're acquaintances, but the people at the garden are just doing garden stuff.
Yep. That's, as far as anyone has been asking me, like, are you trying to recruit for the garden? No, they're doing their own thing. They don't want to talk to me because of what I did in Cleveland. And
Okay.
if... I've had this in my back pocket, no one's pushed against it yet, but if anyone's like, I've seen you there a couple times, I'm begging for them to forgive me for what I did in Cleveland. I tried to shoot Alfonso.
Yeah, that works well.
Mm-hmm. No, but that plausible deniability will work nicely. I fed a similar line to Clark last week when we were on the phone.
He's got to believe that, right?
I don't know, it's Clark, right?
Yeah, but
He'll believe what he wants
I mean, I
to
think
believe,
that
but
the whole group sees me as a spiteful motherfucker, which I am, but I'd be surprised if they thought differently.
I think, oh gosh. I had a brief conversation with Luciano where he asked if I, had checked in with any of the survivors, he said. I said they won't talk to me. And he seemed to buy that pretty easily.
Okay.
I'll, have to give my proper apologies to Lang. He tried to get me to join the garden today.
Really?
Yeah, he gave me a call earlier, pressed me, and basically was like, Eliza, what the fuck are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing out there? Told me to come get free soup. I did. And I felt bad because I didn't really talk to him, so I texted him, thank you for the soup. He texted, who is this? And I said,
oh my God.
Well, nobody, I guess. And he said, loser. I said, Kiflom to you too. He said, shit, my bad. And I said, you're not wrong, though. Anyways, thanks for the free soup. And then he said, join our garden. Not like you have anywhere else to go. Enjoy rock bottom. It's not so bad.
Yeah, it wasn't the most positive of days. Everyone has their ups and downs, though.
That's okay, though. It's Lang.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even see it as negative.
No, it's not at all. I mean, he's literally begging you to join the garden.
Truly, if I didn't have this baggage, I would. Well, even then, I'd still want to give you all your space.
Well, I don't think we need space. But I also understand having things that you're doing and the ability to understand when you can't bring that to the door.
Even if I wanted to drop it all off, it's... With the conversation that I had on that island and the unanswered questions hanging in the air, and now this? I'm not bringing that mess to your table. Even though I am explicitly, you know, ordering that mess for carryout and then making you meet me to take care of that mess somewhere else.
I think this is a very good way that we've managed to find the ability to handle both situations.
In an ideal world, you would not be burdened with this, but it's... There's so much that could... This is dangerous fucking information.
Listen, truly, you don't have to worry about burdening me with anything, like, at all. I promise you that. I'm content with my soup, and I'm doing my best to let my mind and body heal. This is not a burden, and it never will be. Not with everything at stake.
Of course. Well, regardless, I'll make sure that you are informed to the earliest and best of my ability if anything else like this comes up. And I'll, make sure it only, you know, if it qualifies more emergency. This kind of felt like an emergency thing that I had to tell you about, like, right away.
100%. I think this was, yeah. One quick question for you.
Yes.
I've heard that AC works for the news now. Was he there?
Really? No.
Okay.
Ooh! Who was it that said it? AC's a snitch now?
Yeah, he is.
Okay.
Yeah.
If I cross paths with him, how would you like that handled?
Just give me a call with his location if possible.
Can and will do.
I appreciate it.
really the least I can do. I will brainstorm discrete rendezvous points and make sure that I have a backlog of disguises in my backpack if anything needs to be done with a sense of haste.
Perfect. Okay. Sounds good. I think you successfully made it through a conversation without getting spied on for our knowledge, so that's a huge win.
All right, I'll start the tally. Excellent. Well, with that said, when I get the chance, I am going to first try to take more detailed notes for if we meet on this subject again in the future, and without being seen by anybody, I'm going to see if I can take scans or photos of those documents, because their organization is pretty impressive, I will say. But it'll at least give a full scope of what they have and what their thought process is, because they do have annotations in quite a lot of their notes.
Okay. I will say prioritize yourself not getting caught above all else. But if it seems perfectly safe to somehow do that, that would be great.
You got it. I'm going to monopolize the at least surface level politeness that people are affording me, but keeping in mind that things can flip at any moment, because they
Okay.
do.
Yeah, 100%. Be
That's
very
it.
careful, be very safe, and I appreciate this update.
Of course. Least I can do. You stay safe. And thanks again for the soup. It was really good.
Good, I'm glad you enjoyed.